Welcome back and thank you for joining me here at Bereans Corner. You can find us on YouTube at Bereans Corner, Instagram at Bereans Corner, and anywhere that you may find your podcast. We're on iHeartRadio, we're on Spotify, anywhere else that you may be able to find your podcast, you can find us there. Open your Bible to Exodus 27. The title of today's lesson is The Bronze Altar. Exodus 27, and let's read.
Exodus 27. Build an altar of acacia wood, 3 cubits high. It is to be square, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. Make a horn at each of the 4 corners so that the horns and the altar are of one piece, and overlay the altar with bronze. Make all its utensils of bronze, its pots to remove the ashes, and its shovels, sprinkling bowls, meat forks, and fire pans. Make a grating for it, a bronze network, and make a bronze ring at each of the 4 corners of the network. Put it under the ledge of the altar so that it is halfway up the altar. Make poles of acacia wood for the altar and overlay them with bronze. The poles are to be inserted into the ring so they will be on 2 sides of the altar when it is carried. Make the altar hollow, out of boards. It is to be made just as you were shown on the mountain. Make a courtyard for the tabernacle. The south side shall be 100 cubits long, and is to have curtains of finely twisted linen, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The north side shall also be 100 cubits long, and is to have curtains with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The west end of the courtyard shall be 50 cubits wide, and have curtains with 10 posts and 10 bases. On the east side, toward the sunrise, the courtyard shall also be 50 cubits wide. Curtains 15 cubits long are to be on one side of the entrance with 3 posts and 3 bases, and curtains 15 cubits long are to be on the other side with 3 posts and 3 basins. For the entrance to the courtyard, provide a curtain 20 cubits long of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer, with 4 posts and 4 bases. All the posts around the courtyard are to have silver bands and hooks and bronze bases. The courtyard shall be 100 cubits long and 50 cubits wide, with curtains of finely twisted linen 5 cubits high, and with bronze bases. All the other articles used in the service of the tabernacle, whatever their function, including all the tent pegs for it, and those for the courtyard, are to be of bronze. Command the Israelites to bring you clear oil of pressed olives for the light, so that the lamps may be kept burning. In the tent of meeting, outside the curtain that is in front of the testimony, Aaron and his sons are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord from evening till morning. This is to be a lasting ordinance among the Israelites for the generations to come.
Now, the last time we were together, we looked at some of the items that were to go in the tabernacle. Reviewed such things as the curtains of linen, curtains of goat's hair, the boards and sockets, and the veil and screen. Today, we'll be looking at the bronze altar. Now, the bronze altar was a very important part of the tabernacle, as it is the piece the sacrifices had to be made. Where the sacrifices had to be made. The sacrifices had to be killed in the presence of the Lord and cooked in his presence, and that is where the bronze altar comes into place. Now, we notice verses 1 through 8. You shall make the altar of acacia wood 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. You shall make its horns on its 4 corners. Its horn shall be of one piece with it, and you shall overlay it with bronze. You shall make its pails for removing its ashes, and its shovels and its basins, and its forks and its fire pans. You shall make all its utensils of bronze. You shall make for it a grating of network of bronze, and on the net you shall make 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. You shall put it beneath under the ledge of the altar, that the net may reach halfway up the altar. You shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. Its poles shall be inserted into the rings, so that the pole shall be on the 2 sides of the altar when it is carried. You shall make it hollow with planks. as it was shown to you in the mountain, so they shall make it. Now, there are 11 details to point out about the bronze altar. Number 1, the altar was made of acacia wood. We saw that in verse 1. Also in verse 1, we saw the altar was to be 90 inches long and 90 inches wide. Number 3, the altar had to be a perfect square. We saw that in verse 1. Number 4, the altar was to be 54 inches high. We saw that in verse 1. Number 5, the altar was to contain a horn on each corner. We saw that in verse 2. Number 6, the various utensils were to be made of bronze. We saw that in verse 3. Number 7, the altar was to have on top a bronze grate. We saw that in verse 4. Number 8, the altar needed a net that had 4 rings at the 4 corners. We saw that in verses 4 through 5. Number 9, the altar was to have poles so that it could be lifted and transported. We saw that in verse 6. Number 10, the altar poles were to be inserted into the rings when it was to be lifted or carried. We saw that in verse 7. And number 11, the altar was to be a hollow, lightweight altar. We saw that in verse 8. Next, we will look at the court of the tabernacles. We see this in verses 9 through 21. Let's look at them. Notice verse 9. You shall make the court of the tabernacle. On the south side there shall be hangings for the court of fine twisted linen, 100 cubits long for one side. Its pillars shall be 21 with 20 sockets of bronze. The hooks of the pillar and their bands shall be of silver. Likewise for the north side in length there shall be hangings 100 cubits long, and its 20 pillars with their 20 sockets of bronze. The hooks of the pillars on their bands shall be of silver. And for the width of the court on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits with their 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The width of the court on the east side shall be 50 cubits. The hangings for the one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits with their 3 pillars and 3 sockets. For the other side shall be hangings of 15 cubits and with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. For the gate of the court there shall be a screen of 20 cubits of blue and purple and scarlet material and fine twisted linen, the work of a weaver, with their 4 pillars and their 4 sockets. All the pillars around the court shall be furnished with silver bands, with their hooks of silver and their sockets of bronze. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the width 50 throughout, and the height 5 cubits of fine twisted linen and their sockets of bronze. All the utensils of the tabernacle used in all its service, and all its pegs, and all the pegs of the court shall be of bronze. You shall charge the sons of Israel that they bring you clear oil of beaten olives for the light, and make a lamp burn continually. In the tent of meeting, outside the veil which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall keep it in order from evening to morning before the Lord. It shall be a perpetual statute throughout their generations for the sons of Israel. Now, there are 18 details to wrap up this chapter that we will note in verses 9 through 21. Number 1, the south end of the courtyard was to have fine linen. We saw that in verse 9. Number 2, the length of the south line linen was to be 150 feet long. We saw that also in verse 9. Number 3, the length of the south side was to contain 20 posts or pillars. We saw that in verse 10. Number 4, the north side length was to be identical as the south side. We saw that in verse 11. Number 5, the courtyard width is to be 75 feet wide. We saw that in verse 12. The west side width was to have 10 pillars and 10 sockets. We also saw that in verse 12. Number 7, the east side was to be 75 feet wide. We saw that in verse 13. Number 8, the hangings on the east side on one side were to be 22.5 feet. We saw that in verse 14. Number 9, the gate on the east side was to have 3 pillars and 3 sockets. We also saw that in verse 14. Number 10, the other side of the east gate was to be identical in its measurements. We saw that in verse 15. Number 11, the gate was to have a 30-foot screen. We saw that in verse 16. Number 12, all of the pillars are to be banded together with silver bands, silver hooks, and bronze sockets. We saw that in verse 17. Number 13, the courtyard is 150 feet in length. We saw that in verse 18. Number 14, the courtyard width is 75 feet. We see this in verse 18. Number 15, the height of the courtyard curtain is 7.5 feet. We saw that in verse 18. Number 16, all utensils and pegs are to be made of bronze. We saw that in verse 19. As a matter of fact, let's look at that one more time. All the utensils of the tabernacle used in its service, and all its pegs, and all the pegs of the court shall be bronze. We see that the Lord is very particular. Number 17, oil was to be bought so the lamp can continually burn. And number 18, Aaron and his sons were responsible for keeping the light burning. Notice verse 21. In the tent of meeting outside the veil, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall keep it in order from evening to morning before the Lord. It shall be a perpetual statute throughout their generations for the sons of Israel. What did we learn in Exodus 27? We learned that everything that the Lord wants done is particular. Like I've mentioned before, this wasn't something that they were supposed to throw together or put it together as you see fit. They were supposed to go exactly by these dimensions that the Lord gave Moses. Okay, that brings us to the end of Exodus chapter 27. That is all for now. God bless.